Shacharis and Mincha, we do Nefilas Apayim. It's called falling on your face. If you see the image here on the screen, you could see. This is how it is by davening. By Shacharis, you hold your talis in your hand, and you hold the tefillin, and you fall on your arm. It's called Nefilas Apayim, bowing down, falling on your face. You see the image on the screen. It's from an early picture of the Rebbe. The Rebbe doing Nefilas Apayim during Shacharis. However, here's another one during Mincha, you fall on your arm. It all comes from the times of the Beis HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, where they would do Nefilas Apayim, they would fall flat on their face. We cover our face because during that paragraph, we are ashamed of our aveiros or sins in front of Hashem, and we cover our face. But in the times of the Tanoim, even if they did not live in the Holy Land, in Eretz Yisrael, during Shacharis and Mincha, when they would fall Tachnun, they would fall as they would fall in the Beis HaMikdash. You see over here a picture. When you would come to the Beis HaMikdash, you would bow many times. Now, there's many methods of bowing. It's how we bow during Shemoneh Esrei, which is just bowing over. Then there's how we bow on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, where we bend on our knees and we bow down. And that's what we do only on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. The strongest method, or the biggest method, of bowing is called Nefilas Apayim, falling on your face, like this person over here. When they come to the Beis HaMikdash, you bow many times. And here, by the first time, they're bowing outside of the Beis HaMikdash.
Prostrating their whole body.
Correct, prostrating their body. Here's just an illustration. Here is an example, somebody bringing Bikurim, the first fruits to the Beis HaMikdash, putting down the basket in front of the Mizbeach, the altar, and then they would bow towards Hashem, meaning towards the Heichal, the big sanctuary, towards the Holy of Holies, towards the Aron.
The person or heavier person had a hard time getting back up. Oh, seriously.
I mean, yes, but they had to walk up many, many steps beforehand. So if they could do that, hopefully they'll be able to bow down as well.
That is
during Yom Kippur, when the Kohen Gadol, the holy high priest, would mention Hashem's name out loud several different times. This one is just by the Vidoy, the confession he's doing on the Sir Azazel, the goat that's being sent to the Azazel, that would be thrown down the rock face. And he'll mention Hashem's name, not the way we pronounce it, but the way it's written. And the 72-letter name of Hashem, depending on the Kohen Gadol, depending on the crowd, then on the Jewish nation. When he would mention Hashem's name, everybody would bow down and would say out loud, Baruch Shem Kavod Machusay L'Olam Va'ad. So bowing is a very unique, special thing done in the Beis HaMikdash. Bowing, we always bow down. We bow down during Shemoneh Esrei. We bow down 4 times during Shemoneh Esrei. 3 blessings, and then again by Moed Menach Malach. A Kohen Gadol, the high priest, during Shemoneh Esrei, in the times of the second Beis HaMikdash, he would bow 18 times by every one of the blessings, and the king would bow down. You know how many times? Once. Once in the beginning, and stay bowing the entire Shemoneh Esrei. Depending on your level of greatness, that's how much humility you had to have in front of Hashem. So a regular person bows down 4 times during Shemoneh Esrei. A high priest who's in a higher level of holiness might be conceited, and he still bow down by every blessing. And the king, who's in the most special, unique, exalted, powerful person in the Jewish nation, they have to bow down. He has to bow the entire Shemoneh Esrei to show how nullified, how batal he is to Hashem.
Excuse me. There's
Mesechta Brachos. It's brought down many stories and anecdotes what it means bowing, how important it is bowing, and during the time of Mincha, the custom would be that everyone would actually bow down al apayim on their face. like these people here in the Beis Hamikdash, they would actually bow, fall down on their face like this, bowing to Hashem. There is, in fact, a story about Rabbi Gamliel had a disagreement with Rabbi Yeshua, if I remember correctly, and Rabbi Yeshua's sister was married to Rabbi Gamliel.
Why should Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkin's
Sister
sister
was married to
sorry.
Yes.
Rabbi Gamliel's sister was married to Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkin's.
Fine. So Rabbi is married to Elazar ben Horkinus, and Elazar ben Horkinus would be bowing down during, I think it was Rabbi Gamliel, would be bowing down during during Mincha time, and every day his wife would disturb him because she didn't want, there was a disagreement between the two of them, and he didn't want that he should, when he davens, and you daven, you say during L'David Hashem that all your enemies should fall in front of you, and it could harm her brother. And one time, it was the day of Rosh Chodesh, and she did not know it was Rosh Chodesh because it was the Sanhedrin decided that's going to be the first of the month at very late notice. She thought it was Rosh Chodesh and it really wasn't. So she thought today she doesn't have to disturb him when he's saying Tachnun, when falling on his face, and he ended up falling on his face, and she ran in. She says, "What are you doing? You're killing my brother." But it was too late already at that point. The message came that he passed away. So, and the Chassam Sofer says over there, it can't be that she stopped him from saying Tachnun. Rather, it means that she made an interruption. And if you interrupt between Shemona Esrei and Tachnun, it's sort of degrading.
My computer's frozen. Hold on, let's see. Wait a minute. Is everybody? Is he on a mute? Oh, we
The
lost
label,
him.
I can't hear him.
Yeah, we seem to be lost. Can you see him? There he is.
Let's see. No, I don't see him at all. Oh, wait a minute. Here he's coming back, I think. Yeah, here I see the screen. I see the screen again.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Now he's gone. He must be muted.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is everybody having a nice day?
And again, I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize that I was muted. A Mishnah is a definitive, edited version of the teachings of the Tanoim by Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. A Brisa is non-definitive, and it's up to the Amirayim to discuss it. Sort of like an edited Maamar of the Rebbe, which you have about 180 of them, or unedited Maamar of the Rebbe, which you have over another about 1,100 of them.
A brisa is
A Brisa is a teaching of the generation of the Tanoim, authors of the Mishnah, but they did not make it into the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, he compiled the Mishnah from all the teachings of the different Tanoim, And he chose what to put in. And he was very exact with his wording, very exact what to put in, very exact who he chose, the halacha should be like.
And
A brisa is not
right, sort of like a rejected Mishnah of
a Mishnah which should not make it into the Mishnah, is correct.
But it's just not as authoritative.
Correct. It's called Tosefta. Many of the brises are compiled in Tosefta at the end of many Gemaras. There aren't so many, even though it's from the Tanaim, there aren't so many explanations on Tosefta. One of the people who wrote an explanation on Tosefta, his name was Rabbi Cheskel Abramsky. He was in Russia. He was a Rav in a city, very close to the Frierdiker Rebbe, our Rebbe. He was arrested for 3 years in Siberia. And he was one of the, he actually came once to try out becoming a Rosh Yeshiva in Lubavitch. And for some reason, he didn't take the job. And he chose somebody else. And his code name in the communications to Russia, because they were sending money and it was very, very dangerous. They're raising money, sending money. He was running yeshivas, running different things. And his code name was Tosefta. So they would write a scholarly letter to each other. I was learning Tosefta. And I found out that there are 3,000 signs how to meet, and be 3,000 rubles, which would be, silver rubles. Everything was code words in the communications. So the brisa, there's a brisa which we had yesterday. Definitively, on a fast day, we have 3 Aliyos. Rav Ashi, who was the last generation of the Gemara of the Amirayim, he says, hold your horses, not so fast. I'm going to bring you a Mishnah that's on what we do on Tisha B'Av. Rav Ashi, Vanan Litnan Achi. We learn differently in a Mishnah, and a Mishnah is more powerful than a Brisa. I'm going to bring up over here on the page the Gemara Mesechta Tainis. Most of you have a long memory, and I'm assuming remember the Gemara. But for those who joined after we learned Mesechta Tainis, I'll just bring up the Brisa in Mesechta Tainis. It's on the screen. It says, Aliyos b'sheni v'chamishi. We're discussing all the halachas of Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, including when you're not allowed to do laundry, wash your clothes. Our custom is entire 9 days from the 1st of Av. And the Gemara resumes the Brisa. If the 9th of Av occurred on a Monday or a Thursday, Kairin Shlosha, by the Torah reading of Tisha B'Av, you have 3 Aliyos. Like every Monday and Thursday, you have 3 Aliyos. Umaftir echad. And the maftir, the Haftorah, is the 3rd one. You don't add a 4th Aliyah for maftir, for Haftorah, but rather the 3rd one reads the maftir. So the 3rd one, the one who receives shlishi, receives maftir, because you cannot add on a weekday extra aliyos, extra people called to the Torah. On Yom Tov, on holidays, you're allowed to. Because people are not working, and Tisha B'Av, although you don't work, but that's only a custom, it's not a halacha. On Yom Tov, you are able to add a haftarah, and Tisha B'Av we add haftarah, but he is one of the 3 people who received the aliyah. Is not a 4th aliyah, and now that's if Tisha B'Av fell out to be on Monday or Thursday. What happens if Tisha B'Av is on Echad B'Shlishi Revi'i, on Sunday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday? Or if not, for the fact that it was a fast day, you would not have been having a Torah reading in Shul, because normally we read the Torah in Shul only Monday, Thursday, Shabbos, but now it's a fast day. So then, the Tanna Kama, the first opinion of the Brisa says, a unique chiddush. You call one aliyah, and that aliyah does have Torah. So you don't have 3 aliyahs, you have 1 aliyah. You ever heard of a Torah reading with 1 aliyah? No. But this is the Tanna Kama, and the Brisa says that on Tisha B'Av, if it's not a day of Torah reading, you have 1 aliyah, and that person receives a half Torah.
It's the Tanna Kama that says that.
Correct?
Sounds really definitive.
Rabbi Yossi says, La'olam koirin shloisha u'maftir echad. Rabbi Yossi says that no matter what day of the week Tisha B'Av comes out to be, then you call 3 people to the Torah, and the third one receives the maftir of the 9th of Av. So having quoted this brisa, I lost the place. So Rabbi Yossi says you always call 3 people to an aliyah. The 4th one receives maftir, and ve'ela kashya zeh klal. Laila suyir Chodesh umayed. What you do see is that only 3 people could be called to the Torah on the 9th of Av and other public fast days, not more than 3. According to Rav Ashi, on Tisha B'Av, you could call 4, because he says over there is like this. Rabbi Yossi says, on Tisha B'Av, you call 3 people, and a 4th one could be maftir. Right? If you read the words of the brisa again, you have Korei Echad Umaftir Echad is the there's the words. Korei Gimel Umaftir Echad is you call 3 people to Naliyah Umaftir, and the maftir is one of the 3. Rabbi Yossi says La'olam Korei Gimel Umaftir Echad. Rabbi Yossi says that you always call 3, and maftir is one of the 3. But the Gemara over here at this point is assuming that Rabbi Yossi holds that maftir is a 4th aliyah. Because otherwise, Rabbi Yossi is not really disagreeing with what we're saying in the Mishnah at all. He's saying maftir is a 4th aliyah. Says the Gemara, Elakashya zeh klal le'asir Chodesh umayed. According to Rav Ashi, our Mishnah cannot be not the Tanakama, not Rabbi Yossi. Right. I realize it. All right, but Rav Ashi said, not tan loy tan achi zeh klal kriyim shesh memusaf any yemtiv kirna bal asui mai lav asui tani siva v'tisha b'av. Does it not come to add a public fast on the 9th of Av that you can have 4 people reading from the Torah, meaning that you have a 4th person, and the Gemara says, Rav Ashi must listen money. According to Rav Ashi, who is our Mishnah? Our Mishnah cannot be not Tanakama, not Rabbi Yossi. Which says, if the 9th of Av comes out to be Monday or Thursday, you call 4 people, you call 3 people to the Torah, umaftir echad, and 1 person receives after Torah. If Tisha B'Av comes out to be on Tuesday or Wednesday, you have 1 person receives an aliyah, 1 person receives maftir. Rabbi Yossi says he always read 3 people and have maftir of 1. At any rate, our Mishnah is not definitive. The brisa he brought is not that Rav Ashi tried bringing a brisa that it's possible on Tisha B'Av to have 4 aliyos, and we interpreted that you cannot interpret the brisa that way. You must have only 3 aliyos. Our Mishnah said, here is the rule: any day which you have a carbon musaf, an extra carbon, you bring you have an extra aliyah in the Torah. And so the Gemara asks as so. If public fast days and Tisha B'Av are included in this rule, that any day we have an extra aliyah, you have an extra musaf in the an extra addition in davening, you have an extra aliyah. With Tisha B'Av and a fast, they have an extra aliyah in the Torah. The Gemara says, "Lo ila suyir Chodesh umayed." it's not a fast day. Rather, it's coming to include Rosh Chodesh and Chol Hamoed. On these days, 4 people are called to the Torah. Gemara asks, our Mishnah taught explicitly, you have 4 Aliyos on the first of the month on Rosh Chodesh and Chol Hamoed. Why is there a rule to include them, that there are other situations which have 4 Aliyos besides for Rosh Chodesh and Chol Hamoed? Gemara answers like this: Simana ba'ama yahivle. The Mishnah, when it says here is a rule, any day which you has more holiness, more parts of davening or more korbanos in the Beis Hamikdash, you add an aliyah, is giving you a sign, a mnemonic. Don't say that Yom Tov and Chol Hamoed are identical. That Yom Tov should read the same amount of people as Chol Hamoed. The Mishnah differentiates between Chol Hamoed that are 4 Aliyos and Yom Tov are 5 Aliyos. But people might forget and compare them because we're saying they're both a holiday, they're both a Yom Tov. The Mishnah just gives you a sign to remember to prevent you getting confused. A day which is holier, you read more Aliyos. You call more people up to the Torah. So the more additional features any day has, the more people are called to the Torah. And the Koit HaKollel b'Yadish, here is a rule that you should follow. Called the Tfeile Milsa Mechavere Tfeile Gavri Yasera. If a day has something unique, a holiday, something unique over a different day, it has an extra aliyah when you read the Torah. Hilkach b'Rosh Chodesh Umayyon de'ikla karban musaf keren arba'a. On Rosh Chodesh, the first of the month, and Chol Hamoed, intermediate days of Yom Tov, you have something unique. You bring an extra karban in the Beis Hamikdash. Instead of 3 aliyos, you have 4 aliyos. B'Yom Tov, the Asr Basiyas Malacha, Chamisha. On a holiday, Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, where you cannot do any types of the forbidden malachas, forbidden works of Shabbos, except those necessary for food preparation. Chamisha, you have 5 aliyos. B'Yom Kippurim, the Anush Kollel, Shisha on Yom Kippur, which is punishable by Kollel. Kollel is dying prematurely before the age of 60, which somebody who transgresses Yom Kippur receives Kollel, and in the world to come, they don't receive a portion in the world to come. This would happen during the time of the Beis Hamikdash, I think particularly in the first Beis Hamikdash, but since then, it doesn't, miracles like that stopped occurring. So on Yom Kippur, which is more severe, and if you desecrate Yom Kippur, it has an additional feature which receives Kollel, the premature death for transgressing Yom Kippur. Shisha has 6 aliyos. You call 6 people to the Torah. Shabbos, Shabbos is even more severe. Someone who transgresses Shabbos on purpose, with witnesses, etc., and warnings, so they receive stoning, death penalty, which is an additional feature not shared by Yom Kippur. So on that day, it's showing how severe it is. So then you call 7 people to the Torah. So the conclusion from everything is that on a fast day, you always have 3 aliyos, 3 people called to the Torah, whether it's Yom Kippur, whether it's Tisha B'Av or a different fast day, you always have 3 people called to the Torah. And then every single day which has additional holiness, you have an additional person called to the Torah. Now, the reason why on Tisha B'Av we only have 3 aliyos instead of 4 is because people have to get to work. Now, Tisha B'Av is unique in every other fast day. Every other fast day, which is the 4 other fast days of the year, which is Tainus Esther, Shom Gedalia, 17th of Tammuz, and 10th of Teves. Sorry, B'Tevis. Those 4 fast days, we read the Torah by Shachris and by Mincha, and we only do Haftarah by Mincha, because Mincha time, people are usually coming back from work at that time. We have Haftarah. On Tisha B'Av, we have Haftarah also by Shachris, also in the morning. And it's part of the idea that on Tisha B'Av, we are not allowed to learn Torah that day, on the morning of Tisha B'Av. The other fast days, you are allowed to learn Torah. So since you cannot learn Torah, so therefore they add on the Haftarah in a way to sort of make up for the fact about learning Torah. Let's just start a little bit the next Gemara, and then we'll go to conclude with Kuntres Umayyon. Yossi, how are you? I haven't seen Yaakov in a few days. Is he doing okay?
Yes. I'll contact him to see if he can come. Thank you. How are you, Rabbi?
We'll continue the Gemara. If you remember the Gemara related an incident which happened before. And we learned a lot from this incident. As a matter of fact, our whole entire last Gemara, which we've been discussing for several days, has been based on this incident. Rav was one of the leaders, the greatest Torah scholar in Eretz in Israel, and he moved to Bavel. He eventually moved to Babylonia, current day Iraq and Iran, and he made it into the center of Torah learning of the world at that time. But until then, he visited Bavel several times. And he came to Babylonia, and on a fast day, 2 things happened. That 2 things Rav did, and we've been analyzing his story for the last few days. First thing was, Rav received an Aliyah, and he began with Baruch, with a bracha before, he did not conclude with a bracha after. We tried bringing a proof from that story that perhaps you have 4 Aliyos on a fast day. And we went back and forth till we finally came to our conclusion now that we have 3 Aliyos on a fast day.
And we're basing it on the Mishnah,
Correct.
right?
Basing on the Mishnah, and inference of the Mishnah, and explanations, and Rav Ashi, and all that. The second part of the story was Kulei Alma and Payu, Nafal Kulei Alma and Payu, V'Rav Nafal Arapei. It was on a fast day. Everyone fell on the floor during Tachnun. Everybody bowed down like this, is how we do nowadays. Like this. Everybody bowed on the floor during Tachnun, except for Rav. Rav was a sole exception to the rule, did not bow down during Tachnun. Is anybody familiar with Rabbi Hirschberg? He was a rabbi in Mexico. Rabbi Hirschberg is the chief rabbi in Mexico. He was not a Chabad Chassid at all, but he was of Hasidic stock. He was Avram Mordechai Hirschberg. Let's get a picture of him. That's him with Menachem Begin. He had a very, very close relationship with the Rebbe. The Rebbe was very involved in many ideas. First of all, he was a Holocaust survivor. He had a hard time getting married, and the Rebbe gave him a bracha. And he wanted to take a comfortable rabbinical position, not go to Mexico, where it's so difficult and so hard, and not a big community at that point. And the Rebbe told him, "Yeah, you have a special mission in Mexico," and he sent him to Mexico. And he did many missions of the Rebbe for over many years, very extremely close to the Rebbe. And there was one time, this is talking about in the year 1979, right after the Iranian Revolution, where Ayatollah Khamenei, and his minions overthrew the Shah of Iran. And of course, Iran till today, very radical place. And in 1980, about the Shah of Iran, he ran away. He was in France or England, not sure which place. And then for medical care, he came to the US. And officially, it was very angry students, but of course, it was government orchestrated. They went and in Iran, the Iranian indignant people were so angry that they're giving, US is giving medical treatment to the Shah, that they stormed the US embassy in Iran. And they held several hundred, how many? 100 and something,
No.
not sure the number, hostage, Americans hostage. In the beginning was in the embassy, I think, then later on they moved them. But for the longest, a very long period of time, they were held hostage by Iran in the US embassy. And they wouldn't not allow any visits, any visitation, only by mullahs, only by imams locally from Iranian. The president then at that time was Carter. And it was interesting, the first day that Reagan became president, that day all the hostages were freed miraculously. Not too miraculously, okay. And there was talk going on. It was in the summer. This happened in the summer. Many revolutions around the world usually happen in the summer or the spring. And there was talk of a group of clergy, of rabbis and Havdil priests to visit the American hostages in Iran. And one of the Iranians were discussing it, and one of the conditions was you are not allowed to have any Americans being part of this delegation. God forbid. And so they reached out to a rabbi. Which rabbi would it be? Rabbi Hirschberg. He's in Mexico, and they mentioned it to him. Would he be interested? They're trying to ask them to, have a delegation to meet the Iranian hostages, and there's several of the American hostages who are Jewish, and he wants to meet them, and would he join? So he asked the Rebbe what to do, and this is in the summer, and the Rebbe told him it's a good thing, you should visit, and you should bring along with you Hanukkah candles. And although he knew well enough at this point, you don't ask questions what the Rebbe says. So he started preparing a suitcase, and he made and he packed Hanukkah candles, although it was a summer. And about a day before the delegation was supposed to travel and leave, suddenly he gets a notification: the entire thing is canceled. Oh, it's canceled. It didn't happen. It's not going to happen. And there was despondency, and they're upset about it. He was not upset. He said, the Rebbe said to bring Hanukkah candles, something is going to happen. I don't know what, but something will happen. Well, sure enough, several days before Hanukkah, he gets a communication. This group is back on, the delegation is back on. Do you want to go to Iran, join this delegation? And he agreed, and he did pack Hanukkah candles and was close enough to Hanukkah. And he actually ended up in the American embassy in Iran with the hostages. He lit Hanukkah candles with the hostages. But the story I want to say about is about another thing that happened while he was there. So this entire delegation, here, this should be a better, this entire delegation, no picture over here. They were taken to the different places in Iran, and one of the places they were taken to was a very big ceremony in a mosque, and there were tens of thousands of people there, tens of thousands of Iranians over there, and Ayatollah Khomeini was also there at that time. And there was at one point, there were prayers. Ayatollah Khomeini spoke to everyone, and everyone says, Allahu Akbar. And then they all bow down, everybody. Tens of thousands of people with Ayatollah Khomeini are all bowing down. All of the other priests and clergy of all the other religions were a little scared. They're, after all, in a very authoritarian country. They don't know what could happen. In a moment, they all bow down also, as well. Over there in, in the mosque. And the only one who did not bow down was Rabbi Hirschberg. He stood very proud and tall in this mosque in Iran, talking about 1980 with hundreds of American hostages and who knows what else is happening over there. And he did not bow down. The people of the delegation, their faces turned white, is going to get us all into trouble. Who knows what's going to happen to him? If they could take Americans hostage, they could take someone else hostage. Such a disrespect to the Islam religion in front of everyone. And as soon as it was over, somebody ran over to Rabbi Hirschberg and he says, Ayatollah Khamenei wants to see you right now, in front of everyone. So he called him up in front of tens of thousands of people. And he out loud, he says, why did you not bow down when everyone else is bowing down? Why don't you give honor to Allah? And he says, your greatest honor, I am a Jew, and we only bow down to Hashem. We don't bow down to anyone else but Hashem. And later on, he told him to go back to his place. Later on, he received a message, Ayatollah Khamenei wants to have a private meeting just with him, without the other members of the clergy. So they had a meeting, everyone together, all the members of the clergy, and after they left, he says, everyone else, all these other clergy, all those priests, they're all fakers. None of them mean it for real. You're the only one I see who actually believes in your religion properly. And they had a very fruitful conversation. As a matter of fact, there were a number of Jews then who were in prison then for being Iranian spies, for being Israeli spies in Iran. He let many of them go. And during his tenure, it became a lot less, after that meeting, a lot less overt, can't say anti-Semitism, and just only became anti-Zionism as opposed to anti-Zionism. But there are many good results of that meeting. As a result of that meeting, many good things did happen. So when you as a Jew, we only bow down to Hashem, and there's nothing to be scared of, nothing to worry about. So Rav, he's in a shul. Everyone's bowing down on their faces like this in shul, except for the greatest man of all, which is Rav. Why did he not bow down? So says the Gemara, Gufa. Let us analyze the story. Rav ikla lebavel atainis with anisibor. Rav was in a Babylon on a public fast day. He stood up and he read the Torah scroll. He received an aliyah. He commenced the reading with a blessing, and we concluded he did not have a blessing. He did not say a blessing. And now we analyzed, and now we discussed already. Let's discuss the second part. And again, Mesechta, Megillah, we're not going to discuss much about the Megillah per se. We're discussing laws of davening, and we're discussing laws of a shul, and that's going to be a lot of the discussion, which we're going to discuss now. And now we're going to discuss about many different types of bowing down that took place in the Beis HaMikdash, that took place, throughout Jewish history. Moshe bowed down, Aaron, Yeshua. We'll discuss many different types of bowing, and the meaning of bowing. When one bows down, they take their head and they put it in the same level as their feet, meaning that we are nullifying ourselves in front of Hashem. I'm not smarter than you. My heart is in the same place as my feet. I'm not a greater servant of Hashem. I don't love Hashem. I fear Hashem. We're all equal, and everything is equal to Hashem. I don't exist. I'm only here to serve Hashem. My time at Rav loy nafal alapei. What is the reason that Rav did not bow down and fall on his face in front of everybody, together with everyone else? So the Gemara will go through several answers. First answer is that it was a stone floor. In Bavel, the shul he was in must have been a stone floor. and one of the 613 mitzvahs of the Torah is do not bow down on a stone floor. In the Beis HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple, all the floors are made out of marble. And you bow down to Hashem only in the Beis HaMikdash on a stone floor. Outside of the Holy Temple, you cannot bow down on a stone floor.
Marble was actually a form of stone, right?
Correct. We could have a wooden floor, you could bow down to Hashem on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. If the floor is tile, you should, like in Beis HaMikdash was marble tiles. If it's a tile floor, you shouldn't bow directly on the floor. Put a carpet, put even a napkin underneath where you're bowing. But you cannot bow down on a stone floor anywhere besides for the Beis HaMikdash, because the reason the Torah gives is because, let's go into the Gemara. Ritzpa shalavanim haisa was a stone floor, and a brisa taught the Evan Maskis leisitnu ba'artzachem. One of the 613 mitzvahs of the Torah is that you do not make for yourself idols or engraved images or pillars, and do not place a stone in front of you to bow down in your land, because I am Hashem, your God. It's one of the mitzvahs of the Torah, Kedoshim. So because the idol worshippers, they would have a stone floor in front of their idols that they would bow down on. Allah anywhere in your land, in the Holy Land, and anywhere else which belongs to you, and it's your real estate, there you can bow down to Hashem. There you cannot bow down to Hashem on a stone floor, and therefore on Shodesh, Rosh Hashanah, and Kippur, make sure you're not bowing on stone. In 770, where the tile floor, everyone has to bring their own, I don't know, rags or tissues, but you don't bow down on the floor there either.
Concrete.
Concrete
if Rob was, if Rob,
to be stone. Yeah. But over here, Bnei Emunah, the floor is wood. It's raw wood, it's fine. Right? Stone is from the ground. In the Holy Temple, you are allowed to bow down on stones, as is evidenced by all these drawings. Everyone's on stones over here, and they are bowing down to Hashem. Ula, as Ula says, the Amar Ula was in the great Amirayim. The Torah placed a prohibition on a floor of stones. Outside the Beis HaMikdash, you can only bow down on a non-stone floor.
So that's actually what it says, in your land, it means it's in the Beis HaMikdash.
In the Beis HaMikdash, you don't have a stone floor in your land, meaning outside the Beis HaMikdash. But the Beis HaMikdash is not our land, because it was never divided to the tribes. It belongs to all those tribes equally.
I hope it's not
So in that
divided.
place, which is not belonging to the Shvatim, you are allowed to bow down. So thus, Rav could not bow down on a floor, which was a stone floor, in the shul in Bavel. Interesting. Why? What is the reason that you could bow down to in the Beis HaMikdash? You are allowed to have a stone floor. If the idol worshippers have stone floors, so in the Beis HaMikdash, you're not worried about it. So the Sefer Chinuch, we mentioned it many times. We don't know who the author is. A Levi from Barcelona,
Nowadays we
who wrote it because his son was born on Shabbos afternoon, wasting his time. He gave him what to learn. So the Sefer Chinuch, who was one of the counters and elucidators of the mitzvahs, the early, before the times of the Rambam, he writes that in the Beis HaMikdash, everyone knows you're bowing to Hashem. However, outside the Beis HaMikdash, people might think you're bowing down to the stone. Because people used to bow down to idols made out of stone. So maybe your idol is just a stone floor, but it's a stone. So in the Beis HaMikdash, everyone knows you're bowing down to Hashem. The Rambam writes that it became the ways of the Emori to bow down on stones to their idols. So why in the Beis HaMikdash were you allowed? So it says the Chassam Sefer, because in the Beis HaMikdash you needed to have a stone floor. Because think about it. In the Beis HaMikdash, you would shecht many, they would slaughter many korbanos. There was so much blood at times that the blood was almost ankle deep from korbanos, from sacrifices that the Jewish people were bringing to Hashem. So if you had a wooden floor, if it had a carpet floor, it wouldn't be too good. You needed a floor that could be cleaned. And they had one of the early central mopping systems in the Beis HaMikdash. The Gichud spring would actually go through the courtyard of the Beis HaMikdash, and they would stuff up the exit where the water would leave, let the water overflow, and that would mop the entire Azara, courtyard of the Beis HaMikdash, and that would clean it, and then they would open the drain, and let it drain out. So one of the earliest central mopping systems took place in the Beis HaMikdash. And on Shabbos, if you would be washing with a mop a different type of floor besides for a wood floor, then the might come to squeezing, to Chilul Shabbos, to transgressing Shabbos. And so there was no other way in the Beis HaMikdash but to have a stone floor. And this is hinted to in the Pasuk, which says, Shabsosai tishmeru, you should guard my Shabbos. This is a reason, like if you look back over here. See, Pasuk, sorry, go back over here. Verse number 1. Don't bow down to idols and don't bow down outside the Beis HaMikdash on a stone. Don't have any stone because I am Hashem. You should guard my Shabbos. What's the connection of Shabbos to the previous verse? Previous verse which said, don't bow down on stone outside of the Holy Temple. Because a reason, which Chassam Sofer gives, that on Shabbos you were allowed to have a stone floor to bow, is because you don't want to come to transgress Shabbos in the Beis HaMikdash, so you're allowed to have a stone floor. The Meiri writes that you should not have, when you build a shul, you should not build any stone floor at all. In your house, you can have a stone floor because people are not meant to daven at home. You're meant to daven in shul. If you daven in a house, it's a one-off, and therefore the Meiri writes that you should not make a stone floor in a shul because when people bow, they might not put something on the ground and might bow directly on the ground, and you're coming to make people transgress. Now, most shuls today, I would say all shuls today, I know that I'm aware of at least, don't actually bow down on a regular basis. They only bow down on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. There's many different reasons for it. The one I understand is that you have to be holding on a very holy spiritual level. And we are not really holding on that level, on an ongoing basis. Another reason given is because doing it properly is very, very difficult. As a matter of fact, only several people per generation knew how to do it properly. You have to be very acrobatic for it, and they don't want people getting hurt. The way we do it, bending on our knees and bowing down, is not the complete way. It's a whole way of sort of supporting your entire body weight on your thumbs and your large toe. I'm not sure how it's done exactly. Rabbi Gamliel, he would demonstrate to his students how it was done. So I think that's another reason that we don't do it today. So therefore, since we don't bow down to Hashem like that on a regular ongoing basis, so there's no real prohibition of making a stone floor in a shul. And therefore you see all over the world, particularly in Israel, but many places all over the world, shuls with stone floors. And whenever it comes to the 3 days a year that you bow down, they could announce that make sure not to bow down on a stone floor.
You have a covering, and she's still prohibited, right? If you have a covering on the stone floor, it's allowed, or?
Yeah.
Oh, it's allowed.
Yeah, correct. The Arabs also, they keep this halacha. They bow down on a carpet. They don't bow down on a stone floor,
Let's see.
or they take their kafiyah they're wearing on their heads
Yeah.
and they spread it out on the floor.
Hmm.
Yes, I've had the opportunity to see it multiple times when I was in the Holy Land of Israel. You see Arab construction workers stop in the middle of the day, middle of the Jewish neighborhood, on the street. They're not scared of being attacked,
Yeah.
and taking off their kafiyah and bowing down over there in the middle of the streets.
Hmm.
If I would try putting on my tefillin in the middle of Ramallah, I don't know what would happen.
Hmm.
But they have obviously no fear of doing it in the middle of a Jewish street.
We're gonna eventually have to take.